organizations and some compliance that indicate that data loss is not tolerated. That's going to be more and more the case going into the future, and that we'll see. So it's important that you have a business data and continuity plan in place. So let's unpack this a little bit more. A few things that we'll go over today and talk about is how you know your IT infrastructure, understanding the risk and the options, and kind of how what purchasing is needed and sort of what tools that are needed, and also how to verify and test that information. So we'll kind of go over that information today. A funny quote here, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your data is? This is something that's interesting because, you know, as an IT service provider, this is something that we worry about quite a bit. We get concerned. We are thinking about this at 10 o'clock at night. So we want to take that burden off of your plate, and having a business continuity plan in place is important. So you're not having to have this thought, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your data is? It used to be a lot simpler, where desktops were reporting back to physical servers that were on physical in offices. Prior, a lot of folks did not take computers home. Remote working was really not possible. But now with COVID and a lot of the changes with the way that folks are working, there's more virtual servers, there's cloud servers, and there's what's called SaaS applications. This all needs to be considered from a holistic standpoint when looking at a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. In 2018, business data is absolutely everywhere. Uh, this is a little bit of an older slide, but the information still holds true. There's still information that resides in workstations, local servers, mobile devices, removable devices, and cloud SaaS applications, or those applications where you log into through the web. Um, a lot of folks feel like they don't have to back up this information or have a plan in place for this information. But you know, one thing to keep in mind: Microsoft only keeps data for 30 days that has been archived. So they're having a complete business continuity plan in place that uses third parties or a managed service provider like CRM Miles to ensure that that data is backed up and that you have a good retention period. Some applications will indicate that yes, they do back them up, but if it's only for 30 days, then the time frame that you might need to back that up or access that data might expire, and defeats the purpose of the information being backed up. Business data does need to be protected, and files on work endpoints are more critical than you think. Um, don't introduce human error into such a critical area. Why we're saying this is that, you know, overthinking how you back up files and what files need to be backed up, it can cause more work than it would be to just go ahead and come up with a plan that actively covers all of the backup and data protection that is needed. The last line there says simplicity is your friend here. That's really the case. You know, trying to segregate data to information that should be backed up versus information that should not be backed up, it can be really hard. So it's more effective to, you know, kind of do try to back up everything and purge information that is not needed or no longer required for your business. And it's better to introduce an automated um, technology-based solution so that human error isn't something that needs to be introduced or have to rely on a human in order to complete the backup. A lot of times we've seen clients that have backup solutions or business continuity solutions that involved physically removing a tape from a backup drive, and that could cause problems in the long run because if somebody forgets to remove that tape, then the backup may not be completed. And taking out steps that would cause error either on the human side or on the technological side is important. So let's understand some of the risks and the options for business continuity and data backup. The perfect data storm: every employee creates data, value and reliance on the data is increasing, and business data is traveling everywhere. We're seeing with COVID and working from home that that data is cropping up in places that um, either organizations didn't expect or didn't know were actually happening. For an example, a healthcare organization may have a policy for employees to store information maybe on a server or on a cloud-based location, but maybe they're storing information on their local workstation. And knowing where that information is stored and how it's stored is important. Ensuring that data loss uh, protection is not always downtime protection. So what that means is that just because you are backing up data, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that you retrieving that data and accessing it in the event of a disaster is gonna be an easy feat for you. So having a plan in place to know kind of not only what business data is backed up, but also what business applications is backed up. File recovery is a component of business restoration, but also what's important to know is thinking about how much time it takes to restore that information. So having some continuity plan in place to be able to access data or have it in another location so that you're not um, prevented from accessing that information, it's really important. Employee time is expensive and needs to be included in the conversation. Um, while you might have a cost-effective backup solution that allows you to restore files, if it doesn't do it quickly or effectively, then the downtime with your employees can be experienced, and that's something that needs to be considered in continuity plan. So when it comes to file protection, the format of the files do matter. How big they are, how small they are, all of that information is something that uh, it needs to be considered when you're looking at business continuity. Something that is important that needs to be talked about as well that isn't really covered often is the difference between image-based file backup and file-based backup. A file-based backup is typically just files and folders. You can typically choose what you want to protect. Services like Carbonite usually do what's called a file-based backup. It's a very manual process. You have to make sure that you do it yourself, make sure the files are done. There is no backup. There's no failover if there's a problem that occurs with those backups. And this is really good for like music or basic files that you don't that may not have a problem with being corrupted. Um, Now, an image-based backup, a service that Sierra Miles offers, is actually conducting a complete snapshot of all your files, the application, and the system operating system as well. It does a full system recovery. The failover is there in disaster scenarios, meaning that there's a way for employees or staff to access data if the data is not locally available, whether it be in the cloud or from a third-party solution. And then of course automation, it being completely automated, is another thing that is done with a full image. It's something that takes a complete snapshot as opposed to having it be done manually. So one thing that gets confused often is that backup is not business continuity. Just because you have a backup plan in place that outlines how you're backing up things maybe locally or even in the cloud, it doesn't necessarily outline how you're able to restore applications and access information in the event of disaster or for failover. Uh, the other part of the business continuity, or what's different between backup and business continuity, is the ability to prevent downtime and the total calculated time to restore operations. You know, like we had mentioned before, in our videos with ransomware and our videos with the different disasters that are happening in the United States. Um, Having a business continuity plan that allows you to restore information and look at the holistic view outside of just backing up the files um, constitutes business continuity. Um, there's actually not a lot of great tools there. The ransomware preparedness checklist, as well as information on how having business continuity in the event of a ransomware attack, or in this case, as outlined here, crypto locker attack, can can help mitigate the risks So the cost of disasters, operations stop, lost sales, missed deadlines. Sorry about that. It looks like we had a bit of an interruption there on our feed. Um, it's important to have a realistic budget. We do have a link for the downtime calculator that you can check on at datto.com/RTO. We'll put that in the description as well of the video. It's important to invest in a solution that can grow with your company. Something that working with the managed service provider like Sierra Miles, um, we can help you have a backup plan. Will not only cover your existing organization, but also the virtual system and bandwidth management. So what's helpful with that is that we have solutions available to not only cover your existing infrastructure, but also your infrastructure as it grows. Beware of the fine print. Just be sure that you work with a service provider or somebody who you're comfortable with. And just a little bit more on the recovery time objective. How long, some things that you might want to ask yourself, how long will it take you to restore from a disaster? Is it seconds, minutes, hours, or days? How much is it going to cost? And just some information to put into perspective. 3 years of service equals 1 day of downtime. One final thing to think about with business continuity is testing, testing, and more testing. What's important is that if we don't see the results, it could be that we're putting garbage in and we're getting garbage out. We don't want that. So testing your backups and ensuring that the backups that you have done have the information that you need is very important. Um, don't be afraid to ask questions, and feel free to work with a service provider like Sierra Miles. We can definitely help you find a solution that's right fit for your business. One thing to make note of is that typically the first disaster recovery test usually is a miserable failure. So work with someone like Sierra Miles so we can help you get your disaster recovery plan in place so that you have complete business continuity. You can contact us. The second time usually is a much better. This is something that Sierra Miles can help you work through. So, just a few things to take away from this. Make sure that what you installed is capable of continuity. That it does local backup and restores. It also does cloud backup and restores, and is able to quickly virtualize your IT infrastructure. Working with a trusted service provider like Sierra Miles is something important. Find the right solution for your business and your needs. Test your system and ensure disaster recovery. As long as you do this, it's going to be important to get your business continuity in place. It's like a seatbelt. It'll just be one more level of protection for you. So again, I'm Brandon here with Sierra Miles. Thank you so much for bearing with us, even with the technical problems. If you have any questions or would like to visit us on the web, visit us at sierramiles.com/managedIT and visit the business continuity and disaster recovery section. There's some great information and some great tools there for you to learn. Thanks so much and have a great day.